Hi, I'm BBQ Brian from the House of Q, and today I want to share some barbecue tips on smoking cheese, which is a great thing to do. It's easy, and chances are you have all of the things that you need to do that at your home right now if you are a barbecue or a grilling fan. So the first thing is to have I would have a smoke tube, and you can do this with, this is where you're going to have your smoke chips. And so in this instance, this is a perforated tube from Amazen products is what it's called. And it's a bunch of holes in this long pipe. This is quite a long piece. And inside the tube are, of course, the pellets that I would put into my smoker. You can put these pellets into like a foil tray and do the same concept, but you might have a little bit more challenges on how quickly that burns. But lo and behold, these are ideal devices to have. Now, it's filled maybe 2/3 of the way up because if I filled this whole tube, I probably have 6 or 8 hours of burn time on this, which is way too long for what I want with my cheese. So I've got it partially filled, and I'm going to level out the pellets on the inside before I light this. And just for starters, and hopefully you can see it on the screen, I'm going to put it on the top rack of my Yoder YS 1500 right here, and then start my torch. I might be getting low on fuel here. Anyway, and you want to light the pellets here and let them burn, and they'll need to get to a good combustion. So there's going to be lots of flame here, of course lots of smoke, and this is going to be the source of our smoke for when we're going to do the cheese. Hopefully you can see some of that on the camera, but nonetheless. So as this gets lit, I'm going to get this going, and it needs to be lit at the one end for a few minutes to establish the heat for the rest of the combustion as it goes through the pellets and establish the smoke that's there. So often when you're lighting the smoke tube like this, people light it for just a few seconds until, hey, I can see flames, so let me stop. No, you need to light it a little bit longer and make sure it's nice and hot, and it'll continue to burn as it gets into the tube. So as this lights, the selection of cheese that I've got is, I've got 2 or 3 different things that I'm going to do today. Two of them, one of them will be pull strings, the cheesy strings that you have in your kids' lunch packets. Maybe you have it your packet at home when you go to work too. But those are great to smoke, and they go great on a charcuterie tray. The other one is a herbed cheddar, and then also a Havarti cheese. I like those. They're fantastic to have as smoked cheeses, smoked cheese. But Gouda, mozzarella is fantastic. I do like smoked cheddar. Those are all fantastic ones to have as your cheese that you put on your smoker. And it's always great to play, and that's one thing that you can play with. Whatever cheese you like, give it a shot. Throw it in the smoker and see what it's like. Now, another thing is, and you can probably see it in the background, it's a nice cool day today. It's the fall. It's late October here for me at home in North Okanagan in British Columbia. And it's about 3 degrees Celsius. So cool. So for those in Fahrenheit scale, that's maybe 40 degrees or so. And we get up into the 40s today for me during the day as I'm doing this. There's no real wind. It's really quiet. Just a gorgeous day. I got to go rake up leaves later once I get into this. But, and you also want to be mindful. You want a cool day is my point, but you also want to have a day where you know what the humidity is. Today, for me, I just looked this up on my weather station, and it's about 100% humidity here. There's not a cloud to be seen. It's just a gorgeous day, but it's 100% humidity. So very high on that, and that will have an impact on how your smoke works when you're doing cheese in particular, amongst other things when you're smoking. But if you do have a very dry climate, you may want to spritz your cheese with some moisture, some water, or even have kind of a room temperature pan of water in your cooker or as you're doing this to allow it to have some moisture on the cheese as you smoke it. So I've got some lit pellets here, and that'll be perfect. But I want to get that going, but I want to show you the blocks of cheese that I have. So here's the herb cheddar. There's some Havarti, and then these are those cheese sticks that peel all apart. It's kind of fun to have the smoked cheese all peeled all apart. Now, before that even gets going, I've cleaned off the grill grates. Now, these are going to go right on the grill grates inside my smoker, and you want to make sure they're nice and clean because wherever you place that nice block of cheese, it's going to have some of that residue from the grill on there. And if you've got a grill mat or a a cooling sheet for your cookie tray, your baking sheet. These are great to put on there so that they stay nice and clean. I wouldn't put it on something flat like a sheet of foil or something like that, because you still want some smoke on that edge of your cheese. So in goes the cheese on a nice clean surface. I'll show you what's going on with the pellets here in a second. And there goes all my mozzarella sticks. And we're right in there. And careful if this is not getting hot, but this is nice and burning, and we've got some fire going on there, and hopefully enough some heat for there, but just and it'll be enough to smoking. Now with this, there's enough heat and enough generation of smoke right here for this to be on the lower level of my cooker right here, and you can see that generating nice and smoke in my eyes, and it's in here. My damper is completely open, and I'm going to close the lid. You don't hear the fans working on my pellet grill. And this might be the startling comment about things is, you don't turn your smoker on. It's off. There's enough smoke generated from here, as you see it coming out of the chimney right here. There's enough draft through the vent systems for the air to go into the cooking chamber, and the combustion and the heat from the smoke tube to pull draft right through the smoke chamber. That's all you need for cheese. You don't need your fan on. You don't need to have any heat from the actual unit that you're cooking on. So that's why this works on a gas grill, a big smoker like this, like my Yoder. Whichever you can do this, you can do the smoked cheese. Now, the pellets I used today were oak, alder, maple, all your smoke woods are perfect. You get to play with that just like the different types of cheese that you put on your cooker. And when you put these in there, there's not really cooking for a doneness or a particular duration. This is the art of cooking cheese. For me, I like looking at the cheese in about 2 hours time, maybe 3, depending on how well it is burning and what kind of draft I've got going through my chamber. But that's the nice window for me. Some people may like it a little bit longer or even a stronger smoke flavor. But that's that art of the cheese. And some cheese may take a little bit stronger flavor as versus other ones where they'll just want a little bit lighter flavor as versus a really strong smoke. Again, that's the art of doing this. Now, once the cheese is done, you remove it from there. And for me, there's 2 tips that I'd like to point out. One is you want to rinse it. Believe it or not, you want to wash and get some of the ash particulate from the smoke off of the cheese. There's a lot of smoke penetration, there's a lot of flavor still there. Rinse that off on the outside, because if there is too much there, it can get a little acrid or an off flavor from the smoke that is. Now, once you've rinsed it, it's dried really nicely. Just let it sit on the counter for a few hours or in the fridge to get some circulation around it. Put it in a cryovac bag and seal them in your vacuum sealer. And this is kind of a key point, because if you have a bite of that, and I know you're going to be anxious to have a taste of that cheese once you smoke it, it's going to be a little harsh and a little bit off-putting. And that's common when you first start smoking cheese. And it loves resting in a cryovac bag, so there's no air in there, and let it sit for 2 weeks, a month, 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever it is, a good duration, and it'll penetrate and balance out that smoke throughout the cheese and get a nice flavor throughout that whole piece there. So this is why you want to do this a little bit early, not to Christmas Eve, for you're going to have it for the Christmas morning. But that is a few tips on smoking cheese, and hopefully you've learned something on doing that, and you're at home and doing that on your Yoder or your gas grill, and have some tasty treats. They make great gifts, by the way. Meanwhile, I'll post a picture at the end of the video of the smoked cheese and as I finish it up in a couple of hours. But I gotta go rake some leaves. I'm BBQ Brian, and thanks for chiming in. Bye.